Hi YouTube, how are you? I am back with my first vlogging on my first astrology session. So hi, I'm Elizabeth. Welcome to my channel. Welcome to my experience. I have to say I really enjoyed my first class. I already posted it. I already did a video for this, and I don't know what. It didn't take, so I'm redoing it. So maybe it needed to be redone. I'm not sure. I've never done this before, so I'm just winging it. The class was great. I knew as soon as I started, it was where I really am meant to be. There's going to be 6 more modules in this beginner's class that I'm taking, and then we move on from there. In this class, we discussed the sun, the moon, the ascendant or rising sign, and the midheaven. We started off with a little bit of just Steve talking about astrology and what it is, and a little bit of what it isn't. I'm gonna be reading from my notes because I have so many. I did make my own separate notes, but you know, it's really hard to pull out little bits when there's just so much. I will say this. The first class was February 29th, so I think that's very important. It's a leap year, significant, that's the word I was searching for. I don't think anything happens by chance. I think there's a little bit of magic in there. And that is something with astrology. There is a little bit of magic sprinkled. So astrology it's pattern recognition. It's mathematics. It's a mixture of mathematics, geometry, psychology, and intuition. It's what it's not is rational or logical. And the more you try to explain it, Steve said this, and I really liked it, the further away it goes, which is really true. Every planet in the sky has this precise geometric pattern with every other planet. And that is something we'll be getting into more as the course goes along. But it's fascinating. Like, it's no coincidence the way the planets are all aligned, set up, however you want to describe it. And our chart, our birth chart, is a blueprint. It's a blueprint of potential. It's not what is going to be, it is what can be. It gives you an edge. You can either work with the energies or not. It's a choice. A couple of aphorisms that Steve likes to use with astrology, and he said he'll be using these a lot, are as above, so below. And the other one is the planets impel, they don't compel. And I like that. I really like that one. We started off with looking at a chart. I'm going to show you a chart here. It's just the chart of the day, my chart of the day. You've probably all seen that, but for those who haven't, that's what a chart looks like. And we discussed the top, the bottom, the left, the right. I had never looked at a chart like this before, so I found that really interesting. And looking at a chart, first glance at these positions and then the modalities, it just kind of gives you an overview, kind of a background look into what you see at first sight. So the top half, if you have a lot of planets in the top half, people can tend to be more extroverted because the top half of the chart is the daytime, the bottom half of the chart is the nighttime. So a lot of planets in the bottom, people tend to be more introverted. These are generalities. They're not set in stone, you know, like anything. But in general, you do see that, he said. The left and the right, I'm going to read what he wrote. the left side of the chart, if you see more planets on the left side of the chart, you're gonna words are gonna come into play like free will, self-determination, choice. If you see a lot more on the right-hand side, you're going to see more words like fate, destiny, predetermination. I found that interesting. Never have seen a chart discussed like that, so that was really interesting. The different modalities we covered, the cardinals, the fixed and the mutable signs, and what they each represent. Cardinal signs are the doers, the initiators. Fixed signs, they persevere, they are resilient. The mutable signs are flexible, blendable, adaptable. And then we looked at the elemental influences as well: earth, water, air, fire. The fire signs are initiators, they're creative. They stand up for things. The earth signs are ones that are grounded, they keep us grounded, down to earth. They can be very driven by materials. They're comfortable with things like perfectionism, detailedness, analyticalness. Air signs are the way the communicators, the way we communicate with ourselves, with others, whether it's traveling, through socializing. Air signs are often seen as knowledgeable, talkative. And then water signs, or water elemental. And that is the feelings, the emotions. It's where we can be, it's what's really psychological, can be highly intuitive, sensual, very deep. In summary, looking at the elemental balances, it's a really good way to understand a generalized background impression of what makes somebody tick. So that's interesting. Then we move to the sun sign. The sun sign, the sun being our identity, our core. The sun is a sense of self. And then we have our moon sign, and the moon shows how we express our feelings and emotions, our sensitivities, our daily habits, our habit patterns, our day-to-day routines. Up until, I think it was 200 BC, I think that's what I wrote. It was just the sun and the moon in a birth chart. It wasn't until the formidable Roman Empire that we saw a birth time come into the chart. That's just the history. Sorry, bear with me. Yeah, it was Steve had done, he has studied astrology like all through, he's dated it back to like, I'm gonna pause the video for 1 second. Okay, I'm back again, sorry about that. Yes, the first use of real astrology he dated back to 6,800 years ago to Samaria. And then he's followed it all the way through Babylonia, Chaldea, Assyria, through Egypt, the Minoan culture, to Greece and Rome and onwards till where we are today. But the birth time only came in to recognize a recognized figure in the birth chart, around this time between 200 BC and 100 AD, and it was during the formidable Roman Empire. And it was from this point where the ascendant was brought into use in the birth chart. So Your ascendant is how the outside world sees you as being. It's not how you are, but it's how the world sees you. So quite often you meet somebody and you think they're a certain sign, and it's not their sun sign that you're seeing, it's their ascendant. Some people call it the armor you put on before you go out. It's how the world sees you as behaving, but it is not who you are. The ascendant is the relationship you have with yourself, the interface between the dark and the light, your private world and your external public world. Opposite your ascendant, and your ascendant is where the sun is rising on the eastern horizon at the time of your birth, where the sun goes from the darkness and crosses over into the light. And your descendant is where the sun is setting on the western horizon at the time of your birth. And the descendant, it governs the relationships you have with others, one-to-one relationships. Whether it's family, personal, social, intimate, professional, that's what the descendant is. The next thing we discussed was the midheaven. That is the highest point in your chart in the sun's orbit. And the midheaven, it deals with your external persona. It deals with people, it deals with positions of power, who you deal with, people in power, like authorities, like teachers, the law, the state, God, parents, father, particularly at that part of the chart, because it's usually right at the 10th house, and that does deal with father. Job, career. Your midheaven is how you assert yourself onto the world. It's how you want to be seen by the world in your public image. Sorry, I have a frog in my throat. My apologies. And then directly opposite of your midheaven is your IC, and that is sometimes called the bottom of the sky. It's the lowest point of the sun's orbit. It deals with roots and foundation. So yeah, that is what we discussed. It was a lot more in depth than that, but that's just my little share on it. It was quite fascinating. It was really great to be there and to be a part of a group again, to be in, I guess you could call it a community. I would call it a community of students and a teacher, and learning something new is, as much as I'm dying to learn it, my brain was like, whew, because it's been so long since I studied something, like really studied something. And to be honest, I don't know if I ever really studied anything. I mean, I've studied a few things, but this one's different. This one has really pulled me in. And even in my one-on-one sessions that I do, I've always found that I'm really in my head, like in my head talking, I'm pulling in astrology. I'm trying to figure things out, because it always plays a part. At least in my reality, it does. So I think this is just going to add to it. Next week we're going to start with looking at the signs in their pairs. We're starting with Aries Libra axis, because Aries is the first sign of the zodiac, and we'll be going through the sun, moon, ascendant, and midheaven on each of those. And I'm looking forward to that. I think I know a lot about Aries and Libra. However, I have a feeling I'm going to learn a lot more. I'm going to find out there's a lot more to learn. That is one thing about astrology. It's very vast. So I'm really enjoying it. I'm really grateful to be here sharing it with you. Whoever is enjoying it, I hope it's given some insight to you. If you want to make your own chart up, you need to know your time of birth. But you can do it on astro.com. There's other places you can do it too, but astro.com is what I would tell you to go, and you can just go in there and put in your name, your time of birth, your place of birth. It has to be exact place of birth as well. And you can pull up your chart and follow along if you like. Anyway, that is it for today, people. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. I did enjoy sharing it, and I am looking forward to the next one. And it'll probably get a little smoother as I go along. Okay. I will see you soon. Bye for now.